Good afternoon, Washington, D.C. This is Earl Rush with the Straight Up Talk with Earl Rush show. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in on a Saturday afternoon, spending time with us. I know you guys are busy and have plenty of things to do. Tonight, my special guest is Johnny Jonson, one of my very long time and one of my real friends. You know, you got acquaintances and stuff, but Johnny is a real friend, okay? What's my story with Johnny Jonson? Johnny Jonson is a very talented individual, and he is the creator of the Mambo scene. You always see me spamming people going to the Mambo scene. Well, Johnny created that on Facebook and the Mambo Scene Radio. He also is the creator of La Vogue magazine. La Vogue magazine is the best salsa online or printed magazine that has ever come out as far as salsa. Johnny used to interview all the A-listers. So what does that have to do with me? Johnny used to let me hang out with him and Chris. He let me be the hype man for the magazine. And Johnny is one of the media outlets. La Vogue magazine is one of the media outlets, is why everybody in the world knows about Stuck on Salsa. Along with iMambo.tv, Kelvin Harris, the All-Star Salsa Cruise director, and Johnny is why anyone who knows me knows who I am today. We're going to get straight to it because Johnny's busy, so I got to get into the room and check him out. But I want you to know he's a very fabulous young man. I love him to death. And we're going to have a great time. I hope you got your popcorn. Johnny, are you there?
I'm here. How you doing?
I'm doing so good, Johnny.
Uncle Earl Rush.
We're going to have some fun.
Yeah.
I was talking to Johnny earlier, and he knows one of the reasons why I have this show is because I don't have any friends, and this is the only time I get to talk to somebody. And Johnny's a real good friend. So, Johnny, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Earl. It's a great day in Atlanta, 61. A lot of people complaining about cold weather and snow, so
right.
I'm blessed to be able to walk outside to a beautiful sunny day in Atlanta, Georgia.
Have you found any latest rehab projects? I know you and Alan down there looking at those rehabs.
There's always something, Earl. I actually got to get rid of some stuff before I get some new stuff. So,
all right.
Once I close out on one of my listings here, I'll be diving back in at the beginning of the year. But I've had a fabulous year. It's certainly changed my life and my perspective on what's possible. I'm in the process of selling my third house this year, so it's been good, and I'm looking forward to the day to call myself a full-time real estate investor, rehabber, and I believe within 5 years I'll be there. So God willing.
That's good.
Shout out to my guy Alan Jermaine, because
all right.
He has his hands in everything I'm involved with when it comes to real estate.
Well, I actually tried to get Alan to come on the show. It was last.
Alan is important. So
I know.
Look, you gotta get through a few people before you gotta go up the ranks before you get to Alan.
Well, he actually called me back when I was shocked. He left me. I didn't think I would hear from him till next week. You know how he's busy. But he's on his way. Actually, he's on his way over to a property to put some mulch up. And him and they got some mulch in the truck, and they got some work they're doing.
Man, Alan got people doing that. Don't believe the hype. What he meant is he got to talk to his people who do that stuff.
Yeah, I was kind of stuck in my head when he said that as well. I'm like, come on, play a player like you ain't doing no more. Anyway. It sounds pretty good. So here's how this goes on the show, Johnny. As you know, as one of my friends, I'm not that bright. So we kind of keep things pretty simple. We're going to go in chronological order up from the beginning up into the current situation. So I want to start off by asking you, where did you grow up? When you were 5 years old, where did you grow up? What city were you in? Where did you grow up?
Most people who know me will know within a few hours of talking to me that I'm from Chicago, Illinois. That's not something I try to be shy or bashful about. South side of Chicago, the one you see on the news. Some people call it Chirac. That's my home. That's where I grew up. I grew up. It wasn't, it wasn't as, it wasn't as bad as it is today, but it's certainly urban street. It's the real city. A lot of people say Chicago, but they hour away. They not, they ain't nowhere near the city. So no, I grew up in the city of Chicago, and I was there till college. So it's a huge part of who I am as a person.
Okay.
Um, but I ain't going back. I'm still trying to get my parents to move south. So we'll see. I don't know if they ever leaving, but we'll see. They know I ain't moving back.
So when you were growing up, Johnny, what did you do for fun? What did you play any sports? Were you involved in anything?
Absolutely. Really into basketball, probably through early high school. I probably could have done something with basketball, at least to the point of college, had I stayed with it. I doubt if it would have gone any further than that. Um, Martial arts was a big part of my life. I really split time between basketball and karate throughout my early years, and I would say early high school, late middle school is when I really started to take karate really serious, and through high school, that's my life was school and karate, school in the dojo, and that was really the first time I started leaving Chicago, traveling, going to tournaments all over the place, and it's really my first exposure to traveling and seeing, what life is like outside of Chicago. So, um, and it's certainly in blueprinting my life in regards to discipline and having an approach, sticking with things. A lot of those lessons I got from martial arts. Uh, People don't believe it, but I'm actually a fourth degree black belt. very, very out of shape. I'm more of a let's talk our problems out. I don't want any I don't want any problems. I got my back is sore and I'm about 100 pounds heavier than my karate days.
All
So
right.
I ain't trying to do nothing, but I still know some stuff. I
Okay.
got all my friends. Shout out to all my friends in the karate world. I still keep in touch and
Yeah.
I still get with them, and we do little private workshops and things just in case. You never know. Gotta
You-
you gotta keep the skills sharp. So, but yeah, basketball growing up, martial arts was a huge part of my life. Believe it or not, dancing. Right, my first exposure to dance was not salsa. I was in Chicago, we do the street dance, and we
Mhm.
call it like ghetto house or jukin, or it's like 10 different names I've heard.
Okay.
And I was in a little group
Mhm.
and we rehearsed and we performed, and it was, I got girls in high school because I was in a little cool group winning talent shows. So that was really that before salsa performing, I was doing that, and that was
Okay.
like my first exposure. So that kind of segued into salsa for me
Okay.
because, I believed that I would be able to do salsa. It wasn't like my first time. Sometimes when people get into salsa, it's their first exposure to dancing, period.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't. I had danced in Chicago, so I believe that with the right training and the right guidance, one day I would get this stuff. So.
So in DC, we call it hand dancing, but I know it's similar to maybe the Chicago step or something, or the bop. That's what they call it in Chicago. Were you doing the
Stepping.
hand?
No, actually, I started that. There's this idea that people think everyone from Chicago can step and roller skate, and that's just not. I didn't have any friends that could do either growing up. But I did take a class. So after I got into salsa, I went and started taking some classes in stepping.
Mm-hmm.
And it was okay, but I had issues with it because, in salsa, everything is to the timing of the music, and with
Right.
stepping, it wasn't. There was no like timing structure that was in sync with the music, and that really confused me learning salsa, which was very in sync to the music. So because of that, I couldn't really get into it because it was more of a you like feel the beat as opposed to, you know, when we step on one, it's one in the it's
Right.
if I'm in the band, we all that one is his one too, like it's all one. So in stepping, they weren't as stringent and structured, and that I kind of said, nah, this I don't really want to get too into this. So, but I took a couple classes. I can do a little something, but I never really,
Yeah.
took to it because of that.
Yeah. Well, I do DC hand dancing. I grew up doing it, and you don't want to really get into the step because of the beat. The reason people ask me why I don't hand dance now, I'm going to be straight up because the women in the hand dance world are not as pretty as the women in the culture.
Oh my god.
I just want to keep it real. This is you and I, Johnny. So everything's going to be getting real here. Anyway, so why martial arts? Did you take martial arts because you felt you needed protection in your neighborhood when you were growing up, or what?
Absolutely. I used to get bullied in my neighborhood. I used to get chased around. In Chicago, you're in a gang or you got a bunch of siblings or you can fight. Like, or other than that, you're prey. So I was in a gang, my older brother was out the house by the time I was 6, so I pretty much had like an only child life. Um, and yeah, I was like, I was prey out here, so it was tough not knowing how to fight in those. I always tell, in the martial arts, I tell people, adults might not need martial arts. We're learning life skills, but kids might actually use this stuff because kids fight. So, from that age of 8 to 14, that's probably when you're 15, that's the most fights you're gonna probably have in your life.
Yeah.
And I didn't know a lot then,
Mhm.
and I certainly wish I had known more. But it certainly pushed me into wanting to learn how to protect myself and not be a, not be prey. Now, this was during a time where people actually fought like that. People don't fight now. Like that's like doesn't even exist. So I don't know that I would give that advice to somebody today. But during my time, you might get jumped on. Like that was the worst thing that could happen to you. So knowing how to fight really was
Right.
useful. So yeah, I mean, I got bullied around. That certainly kind of pushed me into the arts. Um, and the funniest thing is once you learn how to fight and protect yourself, you don't those same situations don't surface. Like I don't I have very few fights as a skilled fighter. I had a few, but
Right.
it's just something about your demeanor, something about your innate decision making where you can avoid situations. Or sometimes people just think it's something off about this person. I'm not gonna
Right.
try anything. So, you know, um, I think that it was great for the fights I actually had and the fights I never had to have.
Right. I got you. Well, when I was growing up, Johnny, I was growing up in DC, and it actually was called. We had two names. It was Chocolate City because we were 95% black, and
That's Chris Rock's famous Chocolate City.
yeah, and our other name was called Dodge City.
Dodge City.
So
Like y'all had a dodgeball team or
no,
something?
no, no, Dodge City, like back in the Texas crazy days. So it made no sense for me to learn any martial arts because when I was growing up in the era, if you had a problem, everybody just went and got their pistol. So I never knew how to do martial arts. But I thought about it.
You experienced that DC crack era, the '80s, right? That was a wild time in DC. From what I hear, I was a kid, but I heard things.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. No, I'm exaggerating. When I was growing up in between 5 and 10, we actually did have fights. People actually, we would say, "Do you want to go head up?" And then as we came into our teenagers, you would start to go head up with somebody, but one of their boys or some of their boys would come in and jump you. And then
Right.
from there, it went to, "I'm not fighting you. I'm just going to pull out my pistol." So I understand the situation. Do you ever spar with Fuquan at all? I know he does some kind of stuff.
You know, it's so funny when I first met Fuquan and he knew I was in the arts. He would always ask if I wanted to spar, and I never took him up on it. And the reason is because my experience with martial arts is that a lot of times when you spar with somebody and you guys aren't um, from the same dojo or upbringing, the etiquette's a little different.
Uh-huh.
So I always try to avoid that just because those type of situations can always
Escalate.
escalate quick and you think you're sparring but you end up in a real fight.
Right.
So I have some buddies in Atlanta who I grew up with in the arts and I'll spar with them occasionally.
Well,
I just try to avoid sparring with people who I'm not. If we didn't come up together, we didn't grow up together. The etiquette of what's fair game, what's not, the
yeah.
speed. Like when I spar, we kind of go at a slower pace if we don't have equipment on, and if we have equipment on, we'll go at a fast. So there's just things that make me personally more comfortable sparring if it's somebody I'm familiar with already in that regard.
Sure.
But I will say he certainly asked. Like
Mhm.
Fuquan was thirsty to but when he first got into salsa, he was heavy into like the kung fu thing. Like he
Oh, okay.
he would dress in like kung fu clothes and had kung fu like you knew.
That's right.
So he was still like pretty. It's like a dude who just came out of military. Like he was still on the edge, and I kind of sensed that. Like, man, you still kind of edgy. I think Fook was looking for a fight. So
I,
you
I,
know.
I had an interview with him, and I told him that I was talking to you about him one day, and I told him that you reminded me. You said, "You better stop talking about Fuquan. Fuquan knows martial arts. He'll kick your ass." And so ever since then, I refrained from being a little smart with Fuquan because I'm not looking for no smoke.
It's funny. The whole martial arts connection in salsa is really strange. I've known or come across so many people that have a martial arts background, and even recently, I just found out a friend of mine in the martial arts scene who I've known for years.
Mhm.
A buddy of mine was like, "Hey, this individual is like a semi-pro Muay Thai fighter." I'm like, "What?" Like, yeah, don't mess with that guy. I'm like, I've known that dude like 10 years. I would have never known. So I still like that martial arts connection to dance is
Yeah,
always there, especially for men. Like
yeah.
it's a nonstop thing that I always see.
Well, the most famous person that I know in salsa, Frankie Martinez, has a martial arts background.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he's a black belt. I think I saw something where he had like some pictures or something.
yeah, he's up there, and that
He
goes.
don't look tough though.
Uh, he don't look tough, but
he looked like a lover,
I, well,
not a fighter.
well,
Nah.
obviously he's a good looking guy, and that goes without saying. But anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to move on. We spent too much time on this interview talking about martial arts. So that's my fault. I apologize. So you're in high school. You had a good street game, good street playground game, but we're keeping it real on this show. It really wasn't good enough to go to college or the scholarship.
Well, I think you gotta keep playing in high school before it reaches the college level.
Okay.
So I quit the team my sophomore year. I was falling out with the coaches. They
Oh,
were giving some preferential treatment to some guys,
okay.
and I didn't appreciate it.
Okay.
They was
So,
kind
translate.
of. I felt like they was mistreating me. I didn't like it.
Was it because your jumper wasn't as good as theirs, or what? Or just different
I
things?
mean, I'm gonna be honest, Earl. I was nice, but there's certain things that I think everybody who actually made a team believes they were good. In
Yeah.
Chicago, like everybody can play, so if you make a team, like that
Right.
means something. Um, I think that there's certain things like just the height. You know, I have a brother who's like 6'8", 6'9", like, and nephews who are tall. Like I think if I'm 6 feet, so I
Right.
think there's certain things regarding genes that matter and height and things that just kind of halt you. The smaller you are, the better you have to be,
Right.
and you
Exactly.
have to have enormous amount of dedication, and I didn't care that much about I cared a lot more about martial arts than basketball,
Okay.
and that's really what it boiled down to. Is
Okay.
I loved karate. I didn't love basketball. I liked it was cool.
Okay.
I loved karate. So
Oh,
I think it just reached a point in my life where I decided I'm gonna focus on something I love, and I feel like it was the right decision. It
okay.
certainly molded my life. I don't think I would have ever got through college without the martial arts discipline, like
Okay.
no question.
So,
So I think I made the right choice.
so Johnny, you're living in Chicago in the inner city. I guess the first thing you came to your mind is, I got to go to college and get away from here.
Yeah, I don't know if you read it, but I wrote like a little a short little novel kind of
Yeah.
capturing that this called that neutron, and it really captures my high school years, and I talk about that a lot where most you reach a point where your goal is to get out the city. You're just trying to get out the city, and especially if you're a college student. Like
Yeah.
most of my friends were like, we were like trying to get out the city. We were trying to stay. So I certainly reached that. Now here's the thing: I didn't do that well in high school. Like my first, because of sports, really playing sports and going to like a college prep school is really tough if you aren't really ready for that. And my first couple years was awful trying to balance those two. And I went to a pretty tough high school. So once I stopped playing basketball and started focusing on school, I was doing okay, but I couldn't make up for those first 2 years. So I didn't have the grades and the test scores to get me out of the city. Is what I'm
Okay.
going with.
So
So
when?
my first year, I went to Chicago State University because I
Oh,
couldn't I couldn't go anywhere else. My grades didn't allow me to leave the city the first year. So Chicago State took me in, and I vowed to make that a 1 year experience. So what people don't know is once you get in school, then your high school transcripts are irrelevant. It's just what did you do with that 1 year college, and you
okay.
can transfer. And
Okay.
that's what I did. Is I went to Chicago State and I did pretty good, good enough to get into another school. So I used my 1 year at Chicago State to get into Tennessee State in Nashville, which is where I
Okay.
spent my 4 years, 3.5, I guess we could say. And I kind of consider that college. That for me, that was college. Like Chicago
Okay.
State, I was still living at home. That was like another year of high school. I was still living at home, and it didn't feel like college. But when I went to Nashville, and I that was college.
So what did you major in, Johnny, and how did you decide your major?
I majored in computer science, and honestly, I had no real experience with computers. Certainly not programming prior to that. I just like math. I was pretty good at math, but I knew I didn't want to be a math teacher. I knew I didn't want to go into science. So, my mother kind of helped guide me with picking a career. She felt like IT was the future. She was clearly right about that.
Okay.
And that's why I picked it, is because I knew I had a strength in math, and that I knew what I didn't want to do. And that kind of led me into IT.
Yeah.
And I'll admit it was tough, like learning how to program and understanding programming with no experience.
Right.
But I mean, I stuck with it, and I ended up graduating from Tennessee State with like a 3.2.
Wow.
Now keep in mind in high school I might have had like a 2.3 or something. My high school years, my college years were way better than my high school years. I
Okay.
always tell people timing is everything.
Yeah.
I knew kids who were in the National Honor Society that flunked out of college their first
Wow.
year.
Wow.
So for me, it was like the reverse. Like I did awful in high school, but in college, like
Right.
I kicked ass for the most part. So, but computer science was tough. Programming was tough. I stuck with it, and I ended up graduating and end up getting a master's in information systems.
Wow. Oh,
And I'm
really?
yeah, I have a master's in information systems. So I'm still in this career. I'm a I guess we could say the term is RPA, robotic process automation. I'm a RPA professional. I've been in consulting and training in this industry for a good
Wow.
10 years. It's only been around about 15. So
Wow.
I'm still reaping the benefits of those decisions from those days. I'm still in the industry.
I didn't know you were that heavy, John. I thought you were like a little CNA network administrator. I didn't know, No,
Yeah.
I'm,
Hey man, I'm heavy in the game out here, man.
I'm just kidding, man. But that's
Yeah.
one thing I want people to know that Johnny and I, one reason why he's such a good friend, we keep everything straight. Johnny,
we give each other a hard time, is what he said.
Johnny keeps me level. He keeps me balanced. Like I might think that I'm really all that, and he'll just say, "You're not really all that, Earl." So I
The-
love it.
COVID is a good time for you. It allows you to step back from your spotlight. You know sometimes you're in the spotlight so much
Yeah,
you walking around with sunglasses on in the day in the nighttime.
I don't think like that. So we're graduating school. Let's get to the meat of the thing. Everybody wants to know. Well, I thought Johnny was the salsa man, and Earl's talking about everything but kung fu and fighting, but he was talking about salsa. How did you get into salsa, Johnny Jonson?
That's an interesting story. So the story is I was dating a girl in Chicago. She was like really heavy into salsa, and I thought it was the craziest thing. And for her birthday, I took her to this club in Chicago, salsa club. So it was for her. It wasn't for me. And when I was in there, I just really liked like it was live band and people were there. It was like totally different than whatever I was doing. And I was like, I need to be a part of this. So um, I would say the original grab for me was the vibe, the music. People were like literally dancing and genuinely having a good time. It was multicultural, something that wasn't common in Chicago. And I was like, I want in. I want to be a part of this. So I started so that's how I got in, and I started taking. I found Latin Street Dancing in Chicago, which was the biggest dance studio at the time, and I started taking classes.
Wow. Who was your first instructor out there? Drop that name.
Rochelle Calhoun, still fine too.
Uh-huh.
Still fine.
Right.
She moved to St. Louis. I think she still we still talk. So
Okay.
I think she still dabbles in the St. Louis salsa scene a little bit.
Mhm.
Um
Okay.
so yeah, me and Rochelle, we always laugh about that too.
Okay.
Because she was my first instructor. Yep.
St. Louis. That's where my girl Carmen Gwen is the one that does the St.
Yeah,
Louis.
yeah. I was finna say she hangs with Carmen and like
Okay.
dances with her team
Okay.
and she's like in that little circle, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, Rochelle, she kind of like low key now, but she was like pretty
Okay.
heavy in the scene in Chicago.
Well, I know a lot of people a lot of women speak highly of you. Such great dancer you are.
It depends on the topic,
So
but sure.
I'm going to bring on a lady who has a little dance crush on you.
Oh,
Mary, I
He's my Mambo crush. He's my Mambo crush. Jay. Hey.
It's Miriam.
so
Man,
Miriam,
that's my girl right
how do
there.
you know Johnny, Miriam?
Man, I love Johnny. I met him in Atlanta just because I like to travel and go out and dance wherever I can. And I have a real love for Al and Nia. I have an admiration for them. I think they're amazing people and amazing dancers. And when they have events, I just try to get to their events as fast as I can. And so I met Johnny at one of their events. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's so good. He's so good. He gives you surprises when you dance, and I like to be surprised. So I like that.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on for a few bits. I know you're busy as well. A lot of women talk about how good Johnny is.
Yeah, Earl don't believe it because me and Earl ain't never danced together, so he don't believe it.
I would be surprised if y'all never dance together.
No, we never danced together, and even though Johnny is my man, we all know me. I'm a hater. Everybody talks about how good Johnny can dance, and no one ever talks about me. So
I love you, Earl.
And so I say, Johnny, he all right. Yeah. I know for a fact that he's excellent with his left hand turns and everything like that, So that's some good stuff. Well, I appreciate you, man. You can hang around if you want to.
Yeah, Miriam has been great for helping me spread my wings, so to speak. So I appreciate her for that. I don't really travel. I only travel by if someone requests it. So I've actually been to Tallahassee a few times to teach and dance and party and me and Stacy and me DJ, me and Stacy and me and Veronica. Really appreciate that.
Let's go back to this DJ thing here.
Earl, you don't know everything. I'm a pretty nice salsa DJ too. I don't want to overwhelm you.
Well, I know that you're an excellent writer and organizer and everything like that. But I got a problem. With the beats that you be making.
Well, see, Earl, when I DJ, it's actually just salsa music. It's not any of my customized stuff. By the way, all the beats you listen to is stuff I did like 10 years ago. You're not.
Okay.
I actually have a Bandcamp page and 3 beat CDs in the skate world, and people buy it. So when people buy your stuff, like you're not in that part of my life. So
I don't think he invited you into that part.
Earl be playing stuff from like Obama wasn't even elected. This stuff Earl be playing. We didn't know we could have a black president. The stuff you be playing.
So Johnny, let's get to some more meat of the thing. Laveau magazine. What made you start that?
Lavos. That's a good question because remember, you and Kelvin didn't think I should do a magazine when I told y'all. So as you know, La Voz del Mambo, the website was a thing that we got to talk about that because La Voz magazine is really a byproduct of the website. That was really popular. The website was way bigger than the magazine, in my opinion. But it started really when I moved to Atlanta. Much like you in this project, I started doing things besides dance to keep myself busy, and I started a Yahoo group. I think Facebook wasn't even a thing back then.
Right.
That's how old I am. Like this is a Yahoo group, and I started like doing interviews with people, like just a couple friends I had who were like popular, like Burju and Mario B, and I think I interviewed Lucy Liu, and it was like a couple of people who I did these interviews with, and I put it in this Yahoo group, and people just really like it. Kind of resonated, like people really enjoyed it, talked about it, wanted more, and I was like, okay, I could do this. This seemed fun, and I said, let me get a website, a name, brand it, so I can start putting these interviews in a place where people could go. And that's really how that started. So I just would pick 4 or 5 people, interview them. And I started, so it wasn't just, let me back up. I actually started writing articles for people. So even before that, I think, what's the lady with the huge salsa website? I can't think of her name.
Edie the Salsa Freak?
Edie the Salsa Freak published one of my articles, like on one or on two on time. That kind of birthed me as a writer in the community. So I started writing these little random articles. Those kind of picked up. And then I said, well, I should do interviews. And once I had articles and interviews, I was like, I have like a format. Like I could do a newsletter where
Right.
there's articles and there's interviews, and I could package it and just email it. And that's really how it started. So it became a monthly thing where I would like pick a few people, interview them, write a couple articles, put it out, and it just kind of blew up quick. So, and I think it's because no one was really organizing their content. I mean,
Right.
I certainly wasn't the first one to do an interview, and I wasn't the first to write, but I think just to organize it in a way
Right.
and then market it like, hey, here's this month's newsletter here. Like that was kind of new, and
Okay.
it just popped. So the magazine came as a result of that. After doing that for a few years and it being big and me just wanting to do something more, trying to leverage that,
Right.
I decided I should convert this into a magazine.
Okay.
And that's where you come into the story.
Yeah.
where where you and Kelvin say, well, how you gonna make money in that? I don't know. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a shot anyway.
I, I was so fascinated, and you know me. I'm like, Johnny, let me help you promote it. Let me market it. I just wanted to be a part of it. Anything that's really good, I'm always gonna try to
Yeah,
find my way to be a part of it. And I wanted to be a part of it.
yeah. I'll say that when I met Chris Soto, because he was pretty heavy in the promotion scenes. He was doing like the Mambo scene. He was a really great writer, so he wanted to, write and do. I started getting other people wanting to do interviews, and this girl who's disappeared, Sharon German, started interviewing a lot of the artists because she was heavy in the music scene.
Right.
So then we had like a music like segment area. But I would say Chris Soto's involvement pushed me to want to do the magazine because I think he had that business acumen to kind of push it a bit further.
Mhm.
I mean, clearly he's like a big time politician now. So I saw that early. Like this
Right.
guy has some special marketing skills here. Um, and I think it really worked well. Like, we only did 4 issues. People think like we did a ton of issues. We only did 4 because we really invested like a lot of our money
Right.
and our time.
Yeah.
And it at the time, like we didn't have the money we were spending.
Right.
At the time, like a couple thousand a piece was like all the extra money we had at the time. So, we couldn't afford to do more
Right.
than what we did because essentially you got to make money one or two ways through subscriptions or advertisements.
Yeah.
And we were making like we got some early money on subscriptions, but certainly not enough to keep it going.
Right.
We didn't, and I just had this conversation with someone about it where, we didn't, the reason La Voz didn't continue is because we couldn't generate the ad revenue we needed to keep it going. That's how magazines work, is they get
Right.
advertising. So,
Yeah.
but I've actually had meetings with magazine publishing companies and big marketing firms, and they love it, but just
Yeah.
because you like it don't mean you're ready to write a check.
Right. Right. Yeah.
You know.
So that's right. I asked Marion to come on the show because I know she's crazy about you. I'm kind of jealous about that, but anyway, she told
But
me.
I'm crazy about you too, Earl. I got a lot of love for everybody. I share.
Miriam got love to go
But I
around.
don't want to block. I'm not trying to block Johnny, okay?
and she told me.
I come
She
up for a
told me
moment.
that she said, "All right, I'd love to, but I gotta fix my hair." And I just wanted to tell you, Miriam, Your hair looks fabulous. You did a great.
You
I've
do.
been cleaning all day.
Your hair looks great, Miriam.
Thank
So
you.
Johnny, I got to ask you the famous Chicago question. Do you know Sekou?
Say who? No. Um, yeah, Sekou is one of the most inspirational and I guess most inspirational teacher I've ever had. He's the one that introduced me to Mambo. I had no clue what Mambo was till I
Right.
met him.
Okay.
And he's the first person that took me in and let me join his dance company and perform. So all
Oh,
of my performance and my choreography experience, that initial experience came from him and him taking me under his wings. So he really created a structure and blueprint in Chicago that's still thriving, where he trained a handful of us who've all gone on to continue
okay.
doing things in other cities or even in Chicago. Some of his dancers have studios now and big
Okay.
dance companies and things. So, a lot of people came through. If you dance mambo, you probably went through Latin rhythms or you went through Sekou in the early 2000s, because we were dancing mambo when no one was dancing it. Like, we used to have guys from New York come to do workshops. We had this guy Semi Irizarry. If that's how you pronounce his name? He was like dating a woman in Chicago and used to come to Chicago. He was like a big time New York dancer. He would do some workshops, and that was our exposure to then he would leave. So like Sekou was like one of the first guys who really set like a home base for Mambo in Chicago. Now I'll say that there were guys like Saladim in the 50s who were doing it, but
Yeah.
I'll say for the new school, Eddie Torres style of Mambo,
Right.
Sekou was kind of like that first person who set up shop and said, "Hey, I'm gonna grow this thing."
Okay.
And then like Latin rhythms, because they were kind of still on one when we were dancing mambo, but Latin rhythms kind of took the mambo over, and Latin Street started teaching mambo. So people who weren't really heavily into mambo started like changing because the scene was changing. So
Right.
Sekou is truly like a Chicago dance pioneer.
Okay.
And I'll say that Sekou taught me enough that I never needed another teacher, because he
Okay.
taught me enough that I've never really had another teacher. Once I learned from him for a few years, I moved to Atlanta and I had enough to
Okay.
just grow. He gave me enough to grow.
All right. Okay.
And I think that's the special skill he had, is he could give you. He's a classical musician, so what I explain to people is when you take his class, you don't even dance the first few. You like sit down and listen to music the first few lessons. Like, that's unheard of now. We listen to music and we have to like study music like we're a musician. That's before you take a step. So he was certainly, I think, ahead of his time, and he certainly created a blueprint that's still prevalent in the city. So, I always have nothing but enormous respect for Sekou taking me under. And then he was black, right? There weren't, he was catching flack for that. I remember being in classes. He was teaching at Humboldt Park, and Puerto Ricans would come in, cuss him out, middle of the class, tell him we not doing salsa, and like, he experienced that as not only a pioneer for mambo, but a pioneer as a black salsa dancer. He went
Okay.
through all kind of stuff that,
Right.
and I've only heard a small number of stories that were crazy. I'm sure he has way
Right.
more. So nothing but love and admiration for respect, and it was a blessing that I managed to meet him, and he's a part of my journey.
Okay. I didn't know that you actually danced with. Was that Descarga Caribe?
Descarga Caribe. I was in their
Wow.
first performance in the LA Salsa Congress. I used to have the DVD. I don't know where it's at now, but
Oh, Troy's probably got that DVD somewhere.
that first when we first really started breaking out, I was a part of that.
Okay. So, do you know? Did you do you know? Miriam's good friend, Leah Patterson. Did you guys didn't perform at the
Absolutely. I've performed in several congresses. I mean, she wasn't my partner, but
Uh-huh.
we were certainly, we have those roots. We have our own little personal stories of our
Okay.
of our in group
Yeah.
spats as we all have as group mates. So nothing but a lot of love and respect for her because she was there during those
Okay.
days.
All right. Okay. What's your dog's name, Miriam?
His name is Sammy.
Okay. Yo.
and
Yo. What up?
he's up here while we're cleaning up, so he got a little
Okay.
needy.
All right. Is there any reason why you have invited Johnny to participate in your events in Florida and you've never invited me?
Girl, the only reason why is because I knew that we could not afford you because you are an A-list and we just weren't ready
I
yet.
don't think it's driving distance, is it? That's
It's not driving distance.
that's a flight.
We couldn't pay for an airplane ticket, Earl.
Okay.
It wasn't happening.
So
Have you
Johnny,
seen my videos? We don't have that many people. They all learn, but we got a small crew.
I got you. Yeah, you probably could get Johnny for a lot less than what you could got.
But we got good quality with Johnny. We so happy.
I'm a bargain deal out here.
So
he did a good job with our people.
So Johnny, you moved from Chicago to Atlanta. Tell us how different you felt with the scenes down there, withstanding the drama, but just the scenes in general.
Atlanta gets a reputation for having a lot of drama, but Chicago had tons of drama when I was there. I think that most cities have some level of drama. I remember when I moved to Charlotte, a certain dancer told me, "Oh, there's no drama in Charlotte," and I was like, "This is more dramatic than Atlanta." Like, so the difference is you don't see the drama till you're there. You can't see it from a distance. So every city I've spent significant time in, I've seen drama. So I don't know that Atlanta stands out in that regard. I think that Atlanta has as much drama as any other city. I actually think the promoters. So I found that in certain cities, promoters really try to block each other, and I think in Atlanta, like we work together, right? And I thought that was a normal thing until I like start going to other places and I realized, oh no, in Atlanta we have a special thing where people for the most part try to respect each other.
Right.
I thought that was like a normal thing and I learned that Atlanta is special in that regard. So like, I talked to Alan Nia, I talked to Jose, I talked to Mike, I talked to Sheila in regards to planning, trying to do things. And that's not normal where people talk to each other so that even Fuquan and Candace, like, we don't try to intentionally do things to block someone else. And, everyone doesn't support each other, but we do try. I think we do as well as you can do in that regards. Like, we do try to go to each other's events and support each other. Right. So I'll say that Atlanta really stands out in that regard.
Okay. Well, I find it, in my experience, to keep it real, Johnny, I find out the smaller the scene, the more the drama.
Yeah, because you only got so many big fish, and they don't want to share that territory. They start to feel real uncomfortable when they realize it ain't that hard to throw a party. It ain't that hard to teach a class. That what they're doing is not as unique as they believe in their mind.
Well, my take on drama in general, the bottom line is, Johnny, nobody owns a night. And so I think these promoters get in their head, he's doing something on my night. I'm like, fool, you don't own Saturday night. And it's like, people think that, okay, you have an event on Saturday. Nobody within 100 miles should have an event on Saturday night. And that's just not really realistic. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody owns a night. And so you're supposed to have Saturday night the rest of your life and nobody else can do it. I mean, it doesn't even make sense. I know these.
So yeah, you would be in a lot of drama here. You will have a lot of drama in Atlanta.
Johnny, I'm not even from Atlanta, and everybody in Atlanta hates me anyway. I already deal with drama, so it's all good. Now, you were talking about, you used the word inspire. Yes, Sekou taught you your foundation, but somebody had to inspire you with your turn patterns. I mean, your turn patterns are just plain out cold. And did you used to hang out with Micah? Because I mean, his turn patterns are off the chain. Off the chain.
Oh my
Who
God.
inspired you to come up with the crazy turn patterns?
Well, Micah, if my patterns are from the moon, Micah's on Mars and Pluto somewhere with his creativity. I don't know where. But Mike and Kathy are, when I'm in Chicago, there's a few people I see every year.
Uh-huh.
And Mike and Kathy is on that list. So they're dear friends of mine. Believe it or not, we don't dance. It's about family with them and me
Right.
playing with their kids and seeing where they're like, we don't even talk about salsa or do moves or
Right.
anything. It's almost, I forget that they're like these amazing salsa dancers because when we're around each other, it's not about that. I wouldn't say Micah influenced me because his level of creativity is something that I can't even wrap my head around.
Right.
I like just, it's for me, it's more like case study. Like I watch Micah stuff and I study it because I'm so intrigued by it
Right.
that I don't even try it because it seems so daring and dangerous. So I like meditate on his stuff, but as far as people I watch who truly influence me, I would have to say, Milton Cobo, Mario B, Super Mario.
Right.
Those are guys because, of course, I'm not a small guy, so those are heavier guys who could really dance, and I was really drawn to how do they move like that? How do they
Right.
dance like that? So it has a lot to do with their physical makeup and how they're able to still excel in the dance.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have, Milton is the smoothest dancer I've ever seen in my life. And I think Mario's probably the most creative. And I try to be a little bit of both of those. I think Mario B just has a real street style to the way he dances that I'm really drawn to.
Right.
So I would say those three for me are like on the Mount Rushmore of social dancing.
Okay. So you got a lot of characters down in Atlanta. You got a few Quan and Candace.
You love Atlanta.
Yeah, I love Atlanta. You got Jimmy Roomba,
Jimmy in LA.
Sauce
Mike Roomba.
Well, Jimmy still having Halloween parties.
Listen, Mike running things. You better put some respect on Mike's name.
Okay.
Michael, right? We brought him to Tallahassee too, Earl.
Okay.
Mike got the biggest social in Atlanta, Tomball, for several years.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy ain't lived here in 5 years.
But if it wasn't for COVID this year, Jimmy still would have had a Halloween party down there.
That's one party a year.
Put
some respect. Hey, put some respect on my guy Mike's name.
Okay.
We love Mike.
Mike is running things right now.
Oh, okay.
And that ain't no surprise to nobody that live here. We be at Tomball. We see the numbers.
Okay. All right.
He got the only social that's like we call that the neutral zone. That's the only social everybody go to.
Okay. So tell me about your friendship with my people. We're going to talk about Al and Nia before we close up because they're your people. Tell me something about my people, Rick Greenfield and Natalie.
Man, I ain't seen Rick since he had them damn kids, yo. But Natalie be out. That's what I can tell you about them. Look, I see Rick when I go to their house. I don't see Rick. Don't be out in the scene. Natalie be out. That's what I can tell you about them.
Okay.
I love them to death, but I don't see Natalie is in the scene.
All right. So
Look, I'm just inspired by their life away from salsa. I think that they have a great marriage, they have such a great life that they allow me to aspire to, life outside of salsa. That's what I
okay,
can say about them. And
okay,
I've known them since they was living in apartments. So I was around before they blew up in
right,
the mansion with the pool parties.
yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
I was around helping Rick move out the one bedroom apartment.
Oh, okay. So, how did you establish your friendship with Alan and Nia? And then we're going to wrap it up after you expand on that.
That's a good question. A lot of people wonder about that. They think that it's all related to dance, but I mean, we laugh and talk about it all the time. Is our connection really came from talking about real estate. From
Okay.
day one, when we both didn't have no money, we were like, "Oh, we got these." We were both at like I would see him around the scene.
Uh-huh.
I thought he had potential. I could tell he was Gordon's student. Um, and when I met him, I don't think he was as good as he thought he was. But I respect that because you gotta believe in yourself long before you're actually there.
Yeah.
So I totally understood and respected it. So our initial connection wasn't really dance related per se. But I'll say that we were at a social at Georgia Tech one day and we were like outside talking and we just started talking about real estate and not being one of these broke ass salsa dancers anymore. And turns out this guy had the same kind of aspirations I have for like one to invest in real estate and create a life bigger than your day job. And I was like, wait, we we think the same way, and
Right.
that was our connection, that was our bond, and that went from us like we used to share books, we used to trade off books. Like I was really heavy into, I don't read nothing now, but back then I used to read a lot of entrepreneur books. I had like a whole collection, and he has Alan, people don't even know Alan has a library. Like he reads so much, but we used to trade books, and that kind of built up to where I could say, okay, I can mess with this dude. Like he
Right.
seems like he's in the right headspace, and that's how our friendship started. It wasn't dance; it was
Okay.
like real estate and reading books and having conversations completely unrelated to dance. Um, and that's what people don't understand is like when I'm around them, we don't talk about, we might talk about drama and funny stories and you see who said this and can't believe such and such, but we don't actually like, we hardly ever dance when we're around each other, and we
Right.
don't really, we talk about like just life stuff. We don't talk about dance. So even when we started the dope mambo moves,
Uh-huh.
it was just like a random thing. It was, we were like all sitting around, and I have this thing where if I have, because I don't, one of the things that's helped me with dancing is I've never had a live-in like girlfriend or anything,
Right.
so everything I do is in my head. Like
Okay.
I make up something in my mind that I think will work, and then when I see Nia, I'll say, hey, I've been like working on this idea, let me see, and I'll say 80% of the stuff I just have to throw away because it
Right.
just doesn't work for real,
Right.
and then 20% like squeezes through. So when I see, so it really started with me working out moves with Nia, and then Alan saying, "Oh, I would do it this way," and that's how it started. Is we would
Okay.
do a
Okay.
move, he would do a move,
Right.
and like I think we recorded it, and people really liked it, and we was like, "Oh, maybe we should keep doing this." So that is how that started. But it was really a real estate conversation, and the great part is I'm actually starting to reap the benefits of those conversations
Right.
like 10 years later. It's like, oh, I actually have money now, let's do it. And then Alan is he's heavy in the real estate game with his
Uh-huh.
license and his investor relationships, and so like we're actually doing things we talked about this stuff 10 years ago.
Right.
That's what people don't get is they see we have this business relationship we're doing, but that's a 10-year relationship.
Okay.
And I'm just now at a point where I can really start to move on some things the way I talked about
Right.
10 years ago. So um, it's certainly a special friendship, but it's certainly not regulated to just dance. And I think that's
Okay.
what people don't understand.
So
They think we're just a bunch of salsa friends, and we're not.
I'm I'm gonna put you on a spot for a couple of things. What were your top three salsa events ever in Atlanta? The time that you've been there, I'm putting you on the
Ooh,
spot now.
that's tough. I'm not sure I can name.
Okay.
Well, do they have to be congresses? Because I've had better
No, no,
times.
well, it doesn't have to be if their parties are kind of like mine. Sometimes.
Okay, so I'll like it. Well, like 200 people. Uh,
Oh, there you go. There you go. You know damn well I ain't ever had no party under 400.
Miriam, I don't know if you know, Earl sometimes gets 200 or 300 people to his parties, and that turns into 600 or 700.
Yeah, he
Hey,
told me that he's never had 200 people.
hey,
It's always 400 and more.
Miriam, Miriam, Johnny, he's a
He gets
hater.
really mad about this.
He's a hater. He's a hater because I don't like nobody thinking I'm pumping up some numbers and shit. Johnny is a hater. You
This
can
is
look,
this is sensitive spot. Them
you
numbers.
can, you can look at the
Don't play
videos.
with my numbers.
You can look at the videos and the pictures. They don't lie. I ain't never had a big event. He, he hates. He hates.
Look, I know if Earl's so used to. I make so many jokes with Earl, but I know that one about the numbers. Now that's gonna always. I know that he gonna be in his feelings about them numbers.
And, and, and Johnny, he knows how to make me sick. And he knows this make me mad more than anything when he says, "Yeah, Earl, that's why you're number two promoter in DC right now." And he knows I go crazy.
You know where that joke came from, Earl? When the musician guy, had reached out to us and he had mentioned the other lady, like, "Oh yeah, I know she runs the DC scene." You got so mad. He was so mad.
Like, what? Are you kidding me? My favorite event in Atlanta was 2006. Oh, yeah, when Sheila had that salsa, Atlanta Salsa Congress. That and
Yeah, throw that in there.
Flavor Invasion. I don't know which one. All the Flavor Invasions were good, but I think maybe the last one that Gordon had. Maybe Gordon and Al had collaborated on that one.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to avoid the question. The ones that come to mind right away are probably the last Reatmos at the we used to have it at like this little it was like a church type I can't think of the name of it.
Okay,
It was like where they originally were having the social. It was when
okay,
it was like that's when they were the top social. So Knights of Columbus.
okay,
So we were doing Remos at Knights of Columbus. The last one they had is a standout event for me.
okay.
Um, and that was one of my favorite socials. I would definitely say Flavor Invasion, the year that they had all the side shows and
Yeah,
drummers. And I would go, and I think Alan Nia was involved in that one.
yeah. It
And
was
then I
good.
would probably go to the first Flavor Invasion where they did some of those. That's when Marcel and Gordon were doing their thing, and we had the big party and the little. They had rented out it looked like a little town hall or something. It wasn't a traditional place they rented
What are you
out.
talking about? Are you talking about the one in the church?
Yeah, and they had the iMambo TV there and like all
Right.
those videos.
That was
That
dope.
was like crazy.
That was dope. That was
Um,
definitely dope.
that was like a moment in Atlanta. That was like the first time in Atlanta people like made it to iMambo TV. That was my first iMambo video. So back in the day, iMambo was like if you made it to iMambo TV, like you were somebody. And that
Exactly.
was like our first exposure And I think me and Lucy Liu had a video social dancing on Mambo. It was like so great at the time.
So, what was your experience like on the All Star Salsa Cruise, Johnny? I had to get that plug in.
Y'all still doing that?
No,
Y'all coming back? Man, I ain't
don't-
gonna lie. That first cruise, man, is probably the most legendary event I've ever experienced. Now it was hard dancing with the ship moving back and forth, but aside from that, it was just unbelievable. I don't know that I'll ever experience a salsa event like that. And I don't, maybe I don't go to like the new stuff, like the Aventura
right.
cruise, and I don't. So maybe they exist, but from my experiences, that was like that was it. That was probably the best part.
Well, Johnny, that's the first time you've ever said anything kind about any of my events. I'm getting tears.
I thought Kelvin ran that.
Oh, Kelvin, he did. He was the director. Come on. See, there you go. There you go.
I thought he was the director, though.
Kelvin he's the All-Star Cruise director, but
let me ask you this: what happened?
With the cruise?
There was a cutoff. Like y'all stopped doing it.
Well, if you remember, you were talking about you guys stopped making the magazine because of finances.
Absolutely.
Kelvin was bringing. He was bringing
bands. He brought Spanish Harlem, didn't he?
He brought Spanish Harlem Orchestra to Cozumel, a private beach party.
That was crazy.
To make a long story short, that stuff costs money. And it may not have been all the money coming in may not have been the same as the money that was going out.
Absolutely.
But we're thinking about who knows. Kelvin's big time. He's a big time realist. He advises people on what to do with their money now. He's big time now. He don't have no time for those stupid games.
No, I be seeing him on LinkedIn. It be looking like something important like that I don't need to be a part of.
Kelvin's about that money. He don't care nothing about that. You understand? All the stuff I'm doing is foolishness. Kelvin's about that. He's about that money.
I ain't mad at Kelvin.
No, I ain't mad at him either. Well, I want to ask you, the kind of music that I like, and we're going to wrap it up with this one. Miriam, I also want to thank you so much for spending time coming on with your.
Thank you, Miriam. Me and Miriam. I'm gonna see her soon. We having if all goes well, we having a group vacation in Jamaica in about a month. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not, but I already bought the tickets at this point. So Miriam's gonna be a part of that group.
And
We're gonna be jealous.
I don't want to be anywhere where nobody doesn't want me to be. and if I'm just finding out about this damn Jamaican trip now, and John already bought the tickets.
I already bought the tickets. I'll say that
what happened. Al and me are always traveling. So I invited myself.
I'm not invited. Or maybe
look, man, when you got your own DC friends, you be going on trips with. This is Atlanta,
Okay. So, Johnny, we're going to wrap it up after this one because we went over our time. I spent too much time talking about some stupid martial arts stuff. We should have been talking about salsa. But anyway, I still have
you can always edit this, right?
Exactly. But, I had fun. And I was just happy to have somebody to talk to. You know that.
It was an honor and a pleasure. And I look forward to sharing this with all of the platforms I have.
So before you go, Johnny, you know the kind of music that I like. And I've been down to a couple of Sheila's socials. And I've talked to her about this.
Stephen Green doing her music, right? You probably provoked that change.
Yeah, because he's a beast. And Sheila knows you got to have a beast. But besides him, are there any DJs in Atlanta that play what I like? Because I've been down there a couple of times and You and I were talking in the corner because I'm just not feeling some of the music. Are there any DJs down there right now that play what I like?
um, well, I'll say this: the right now, Mike is probably the best in my opinion, and I'm
Okay.
sure that I'll catch some flack. But Mike is probably the best DJ in my opinion. He DJs both Tumbao and he DJs Fuquan's event.
Mhm.
So I would say, Mike, it's a specific taste because Mike is he's not gonna play a lot of eclectic stuff you're not familiar with. He's gonna play quite a few songs and some people have issues with that. I don't because I just want to dance. I don't
Right.
care about you putting me on to something, right? Because sometimes that doesn't go well. And
Yeah.
I might have Candace and this is my only time I'm a dance for her. I don't need you putting me on to something new that I might not like. Um so I'll say Mike right now, and I think that a lane has been created that me and my partner Victor, you don't know Victor,
Yeah.
but he's my promotion buddy.
Okay.
And we started hosting a salsa. We started hosting an event that's 100% salsa because we felt like DJs were trying to play bachata to appease the crowd, and we kind of wanted to go the other way. And I feel like we are doing some of the best music aside from Mike. If you're talking about just salsa, and just that's just because it's sheer quantity.
Well, I like that big band Mambo. That's
Yeah,
what I like.
and I mention us because even if you don't like Victor or you don't like me, like you'll like one of us because
Oh,
I'm gonna play things you've heard before, and I like a lot of jazzy instrumentals. And Victor's gonna search and try to find things that you may not know. So if you get tired of Victor, don't worry, I'm gonna come take over. And so I think we were on to something here in Atlanta. We're trying to create our own brand of great music. Um, Before COVID hit, I think we were only about a year and a half into doing and we only do our events on Fifth Saturday because we don't want to conflict with someone
okay.
else's day.
There
um,
you go.
but I think that we were creating a lane for ourselves in regards to the music, and I hope to continue that. I don't. Jeremy Lane, I think, is great. He's been doing Reapmos for a while, um, and that's it. I don't know that I can really name anybody else.
Okay. All right. I'm I'm just checking to know what time to come down then. I have to check out this guy Jeremy.
Jeremy Lane, he's been doing Reapmos the whole time they've had it.
I
So
gotta come. Well, they don't have the studio anymore, but if they open up another one, I have to come down there.
I
So,
definitely think they'll bring the social back. I don't know the details of what their plans are, but having a social is much easier than buying a dance studio. So I
yeah.
think that they'll definitely bring their social back.
So besides Lucy Liu, Johnny, have you ever performed with anybody else? I've never seen you perform with anyone besides Lucy Liu.
I used to be in Alan Nea's group, and I performed with them a bunch of times.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll send you a video. I got some video they don't know about. I got some video. I'll send it to you. But after Lucy Liu, I actually performed quite a bit with Maya Gardner.
Oh,
In
okay.
fact, we performed in DC, the DC
Uh-huh.
Congress one year. Um, and then I took a little bit of a hiatus and came back, performed I say about a year, maybe a little over a year with Alan Nea's team. It was great, but it's hard to be friends with the directors. I feel like you got to choose one. You can't be both. You can't be a dancer and like best friends. And I
Right.
think
I got
that,
you. I got you.
that causes some issues. But I'm not closed off to rejoining at some point
Okay.
because I had a ball. I had a great time. I loved their material. Um, they were the ones who inspired me. I would watch their shows and think, man, I would love to do that choreography. So they really inspired me to get back into it, and I had a ball. So yeah, I have performed, Earl.
Okay.
You missed that part.
Yeah.
I'll send you some video.
Yeah, you my man. But, I just kind of want people to just answer the questions on these interviews. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I have something on that. I have something to spill on that, Earl.
Yes, ma'am.
Johnny can't be on a dance team because then it limits his interaction with women. Because he can't interact with the women on the team. Alameda got rules.
So they think.
Whoa.
Look, just because you got rules, look, following the rules is a choice.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up, Johnny. We were talking over an hour and 15 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah,
anyway, Johnny. All right, let me ask you. Let me pose a question this way: have you ever been to a Stuck on Salsa party, not a social, a big event that had 400 people in it?
I think everyone I've been to has had
all right.
more than 400 people.
Earl's
the only one that could throw a party and people fly to come to the social. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, who does that? That's not normal.
I just want you to clear it up because some people think, damn, Earl be lying about his numbers.
Look, I told you, Miriam, he's sensitive about them numbers.
Don't play with my numbers. That's crazy. That's crazy. And Johnny, you know what? We need to make some more I Mambo t-shirts. I can get rid of those t-shirts. The ones you made? Let me know about them. Okay. So Johnny, we gotta wrap this up. We've talked for an hour and 16 minutes. That's crazy. I was trying to get 50 minutes. But like you say, we can edit it and people come in at different time.
Yeah.
So I want to thank.
Hey, good luck with your new platform. This is great, and I wish you continued success.
Thank you so much, Johnny. You gave me a little bit of credibility by coming on. Miriam, thank you so much.
A little bit.
Thank you so much, Johnny, Miriam. We're gonna wrap it up. You guys have a great evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right.